This NBA referee is about to destroy the integrity of professional basketball. Now, the guy's name is Tim Donaghy, and Tim is living the absolute dream. We're talking about a guy who's at the absolute top of the food chain. He's making somewhere between $260,000 and $300,000 a year, and that is just his base salary. That doesn't even count the playoff bonuses, which are huge. It doesn't count the first-class travel perks, and honestly, he has a pension plan that most people would literally kill for. He's got a wife, 4 daughters, and he's living this beautiful suburban house in Pennsylvania. And on the court, he's a rising star, and the NBA actually trusts him. They select him to officiate the playoffs, which is a distinction reserved for only the best rated referees in the entire league. But Tim decides that having a perfect life and a perfect career just isn't enough excitement for him. And Tim has a slight problem. He likes to gamble. So we have to go back to 2003. And Tim is hanging out at a country club at Westchester, Pennsylvania. He's playing a round of golf with his close friend, a guy named Jack Concannon. And Jack likes to gamble. And Tim likes to gamble. And they are just casually betting on sports. Nothing too crazy. But then, Tim has a realization. It's kind of a light bulb moment. And he realizes that his insider knowledge of referee schedules and personal grudges that other fellow referees have is actually way more valuable than game stats. And see, Tim knows things that the public doesn't know. And he's like, I know who's reffing the game. And I know who they like and who they don't like. And that is the key. It's not about fixing the game yet. It's about predicting human bias. And here's how the system works. Say referee A hates Allen Iverson, and referee A is officiating Allen Iverson's game tonight, and Tim knows this. So Tim is like, okay, ref A is gonna call a ton of fouls on Iverson. So Tim bets against Iverson's team. And just like that, he starts winning. And he keeps winning. And Jack Concannon is loving it. And Tim is loving it. It feels like free money. Which, I mean, yeah, it quite literally was. And honestly, it's just a soft fix. Nobody's getting hurt. Right? It's just 2 buddies making some cash on the golf course. But unfortunately, there is a problem. And the problem is that when you start winning too much, people start to notice. Specifically, the wrong kind of people start to notice. So we fast forward to December 12, 2006, and Tim walks into the Philadelphia Airport Marriott. This isn't a casual golf outing anymore. He's there to meet a mutual friend named Tommy Martino, but Tommy isn't alone. Sitting there is a guy named James Batista, and on the street, people call him Baba. He's a high-stakes professional gambler, and honestly, he is not the person you want to mess with. And Batista looks at Tim, and he basically tells him that the petty betting with Concannon is over. And he says, we are going big. And suddenly, the vibe changes. This isn't about making a few extra bucks for beer money. This is an operation. So they devise a system. And they need a way to communicate the picks over the phone without the feds or the NBA catching on. Because remember, this is super illegal. So they come up with the brother code. And it is simple and slightly sketchy. So Tim calls Martino, and they use Martino's brothers as code. If Tim asks about Chuck, the pick is the home team. If he asks about Johnny, the pick is the visiting team. And the money, it starts rolling in. Tim is getting paid $2,000 per correct pick. And that sounds like a lot. But wait, because Tim is so good at this, his accuracy hits at 88% over 15 games. And you have to understand, in Vegas, if you hit 55%, you're a legend. If you hit 60, you own the casino. So statistically, that is like impossible. Like flipping a coin and having it land on heads 8 times in a row without a single tails. So Batista raises the rate to $5,000 per game. And Tim is making hand over fist cash. He's walking through airports with thousands of dollars stuffed in his underwear. And he feels like a king. But then, the reality sets in, and Tim starts to get cold feet, and maybe he realizes he shouldn't be doing this. You know, it's highly illegal, but he's in too deep. He tries to back out, and he tells Batista he wants to stop, and Batista is like, whoa, hold on. And they have another meeting, and Batista makes the situation very, very clear. He implies that the boys in New York, and by that, he means the mob, are now involved. And he tells Tim that these guys are relying on the picks. And then he drops the hammer. He says something along the lines of, you don't want anyone visiting your wife and kids in Westchester. And dude, that is not a suggestion. That is quite obviously a threat. I would be shitting bricks. And suddenly, Tim isn't doing this for fun anymore. He is doing this to survive. And he goes back to the court. He isn't making up fouls, but he is strictly enforcing every tiny rule against the team he bet against. He is using the whistle to nudge the spread, and he is terrified. And meanwhile, completely unrelated to basketball, the FBI is doing their own thing, which this is the crazy part. The FBI isn't even looking for a corrupt referee, and they don't even know Tim Donaghy exists. The FBI is investigating the Gambino crime family in New York, and they have a wiretap on a mob associate. And guess who that associate is talking to? James Batista. And the agents are listening to these tapes, and they are confused. They keep hearing Batista talk about the ref, and hear them discussing picks that never lose. And the FBI agents look at each other like, why don't we get in on this? Nah, I'm just kidding. But they realize the fix is coming from inside the NBA. And it is June 2007. The NBA finals are happening, and the league is having a great time. And then, out of nowhere, the story breaks, and the FBI closes in. And Tim realizes it's over. And his friend Martino actually perjures himself before a grand jury, which just makes things worse. So Tim's lawyer contacts the U.S. attorney, and Tim surrenders. And the NBA league office goes into full-blown panic. David Stern, the commissioner, is freaking out because if the fans think the games are rigged, the entire sport is dead. So they immediately try to paint Tim as a lone wolf. They say he went rogue. They say nobody else was involved. But Tim isn't going down quietly. He starts talking, and he tells the feds everything. But ultimately, he still gets convicted, and the judge sentences him to 15 months in federal prison for conspiracy to engage in wire fraud and transmitting wagering information. And while he's in prison, it gets worse. He gets jumped by another inmate. He claims it was the mob sending a message because he talked to the feds. But hey, maybe the guy was just a really angry Suns fan. And you would think that is the end of the story. You would think Tim would just disappear into obscurity. But no, because this is America, and in America, scandal makes you famous. For a while, he actually became a pro wrestling referee, embracing the hate and playing the heel. But today, Tim is back in the game, just from the sidelines. He lives in Florida, investing in real estate and selling betting picks to gamblers who still believes he has a magic touch. And whenever a new sports betting scandal breaks, who do the news networks call? They call Tim. And he positions himself as the ultimate whistleblower, reminding everyone that the game is rigged. So the next time you see a referee make a terrible call against your favorite team, just remember Tim. And ask yourself, is he just blind, or does he know a guy who knows a guy?